Many of us struggle to learn a new language, not because we're not smart enough or we're dumb, but because we don't understand how language really works. Despite their differences, all human languages share deep universal patterns. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how your brain actually acquires language. And once you see that process clearly, you'll never approach language learning the same way again. Well, as you've probably noticed, I'm not a native English speaker, but I've come a long way and I'm still learning. And learning a new language is tough, yes, but it's not impossible. In fact, it can even feel easy once you understood how language learning actually works. Before you start learning a new language, you need to ask yourself a simple but powerful and important question. Why am I learning this language? Without a clear purpose, your efforts can easily become scattered. If you're just doing it casually for fun, with no real direction, with no meaning, you might find yourself losing motivation or getting poor results. But if you're serious about making real progress, the first step is choosing your path. We can learn a language for general purposes, or we can learn it for academic purpose. General approach means you want to learn the language for everyday situations, from ordering food or shopping, or traveling, finding a job, I don't know, making friends. It's practical, it's flexible, it's rooted in real life, in daily interactions. Your focus primarily will be on listening and speaking, not that writing and reading is not necessary, but you put more effort on speaking and listening. On the other hand, academic approach is for those with higher goals. Maybe you want to study abroad, pass official exams, or work in a field where advanced language skills are essential. In this path, reading and writing take center stage, and you'll need to understand complex grammar, formal vocabulary, and academic structures. Choosing between these two paths shapes everything about how you'll study, your priorities, your methods, even your mindset. If you're aiming for academic fluency, you'll need to invest serious amount of time in reading articles, writing essays, and mastering formal expressions. Things that might be not matter as much in a casual everyday situation. After choosing how to approach a language based on your needs, you have to set a plan for how to intake the new information related to this language. New information is the basis and the foundation that will determine the outcome of your language comprehension. There are two main ways to obtain knowledge of a language. The first one is systematic learning, and the second one is exemplar based learning. If we take a systematic approach, it means we learn exactly the way most language textbooks are structured, starting from chapter 1, which usually contains a short passage, a set of new words, and a grammar lesson. Most language books follow this approach and this protocol. And to improve your language skills, you're expected to go through all the chapters and then the next volumes of that book, step by step. On the other hand, in exemplar based learning, you don't follow a strict rule or pattern. Instead, you decide what to learn and how. In other words, this is exposure based learning. You place yourself in the environment, in the situation, where the target language is constantly being used. This could be through watching movies, listening to music or podcasts, watching documentaries, reading books, I don't know, chatting with online friends, or having a conversation with a language partner. In this approach, you're constantly in a situation where you have to interact with the language. It's very similar to how babies learn their native language. Through immersion, the brain adapts and gradually picks up the language naturally, by necessity and repetition. When you learn a new language, your biggest challenge isn't just memorizing new words or grammar rules, but it's training your brain to think in that language. Right now, if you're just starting out, you probably do something very common. You translate. For example, if you want to say I'm hungry in the new language, your mind first thinks the phrase in your native tongue, then tries to find the matching words and grammar to say it in the new language. This double work slows you down. It feels exhausting and it makes it hard to speak naturally and quickly. But imagine this. What if your brain could skip the translation part? What if, instead of mentally switching from your mother tongue to the new language, you simply thought directly in that new language? This is what I call building a second language mind, creating a new mental space where ideas and feelings, words and sentences naturally live in the new language and comes on your tongue easily. Here how it works. When you learn a new topic or situation, let's say talking about food, instead of translating every sentence, you build a new set of words, phrases, and patterns that belong to that topic in that new language. For example, instead of thinking, I want an apple, in your first language and then translating it, you learn to associate the idea and the feeling of wanting an apple directly with the new words and expression in the target language. Over time, this new mental space grows. You stop relying on your mother tongue as a bridge and start speaking, writing, and even dreaming in the new language. This shift is crucial because it saves time, improves fluency, and makes your speech sound natural and effortless. In short, the goal is to stop translating and start living the language from the inside. When your brain can directly access ideas and words in the new language, learning becomes faster, speaking becomes easier, understanding becomes deeper. That's how you truly develop a second language mind. Every language has these four main skills that you need to master to become proficient. These are speaking, listening, writing, and reading. Listening and reading are called receptive skills because you receive the language and try to understand it. You don't produce anything, you simply just absorb and analyze. Speaking and writing, on the other hand, are productive skills because you create the language and others receive and understand what you express, which helps you communicate with other people. To improve in all these areas, you need to practice differently. For listening and reading, the key is to expose yourself to as much language input as possible, like listening to conversations, watching shows, reading books and articles. For speaking and writing, the focus is on producing language actively. Speak out loud or have conversations with yourself or mirror, and write texts about different topics, chat with others. And mastering a language means balancing and mastering both sides. And finally, an important note. The key is imitation. To master those five parts of language knowledge, imitation is essential. When you're beginning, avoid translating word for word or trying to create original sentences right away. Instead, focus on learning and using prefabricated sentences, phrases, and idioms and expressions. Stick with this imitation-based approach until you reach a learner autonomy, the stage where you can confidently create your own meaningful sentences. This often takes years of practice, and that's perfectly normal. No one expects you to produce complex original sentences at the very start. And finally, it's important to know that AI technology has advanced tremendously and can now serve as a personal language tutor and error corrector. You can use AI tools to practice, improve your skills, and even design customized study plan. I mean, if you have any questions about how to learn or any questions of how to organize your time and plan for your future learnings, you can just ask ChatGPT about it, and he's gonna answer it like a master. And at the same time, we should acknowledge that in the near future, the need to learn new languages might change because AI powered devices could potentially translate your speech instantly into any language, breaking down communication barriers in real time. This technology is becoming more realistic every day, and it might transform how we think about language learning altogether. Well, so far I must say I'm no expert or language guru, just someone sharing what I've learned and experienced on my own path in language learning. I hope you found these ideas helpful and practical, and I hope you find learning language uh, enjoying. Well, thanks for watching. God bless you. See you next week.